First meeting, regular meeting on July 19th, 2022 at approximately 5:35. We'll have the call to order, and our roll call is all four members are present. Item number one is public comment. Anybody here wishing to speak on things that are not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number two, consent calendar.
Move to accept the consent calendar.
Here we have a,
Second.
you okay, Veronica? I'm going too fast already?
I would like to add that if you do have public comment on items that are on the agenda calendar, now is the time for public comment, right? Unless you're on the calendar to speak, then
Yes,
you would
if,
wait.
Correct.
I believe some of the members or the individuals in the audience may be here to speak on specific items, not public comment. But thank you, Commissioner Perez, for clarifying.
I don't care if they have the right or not.
I shortcutted that because I knew these guys were going to talk on what's here. So, okay, we're good to go. So we had a motion and a second to accept the consent calendar. Roll call?
Commissioner Atwood,
Yes.
Commissioner Rios,
Yes.
Commissioner Perez,
Yes.
Commissioner Fry.
Yes.
We have a 4-0 vote to approve.
Okay, we'll move on to regular business. Item number 3, subsection A, 8805, amendment of classification specification for the Division Director for Election Services.
Good evening, Commissioners. Michelle May with Human Resources. This item is a request for your consideration to amend a current job description that was actually created fairly recently. And we had a recent retirement in this single incumbent position. And as a result of the recruitment that was already conducted, it was a very, very small applicant pool. And so part of the process to evaluate the recruitment was to discuss with the department what are some of the things that maybe are the challenges that we're looking at. And so in reviewing the job description further, the recommendation is to essentially eliminate, and it's on page 4 of the job description if you want to refer to that specifically, but the recommendation is to eliminate the requirement that individuals can only qualify if they have specific experience within a California County Clerk Recorder and/or Elections Department. As you might imagine, that limits the applicant pool considerably. So while it's preferable to have that experience, it is not required to start day one, and the department is able to provide sufficient training to bring individuals who have otherwise qualifying experience up to speed in the specific elections function. So that's the recommendation, to remove that requirement and make it preferable.
Is there a danger of getting someone in who has no experience at all doing elections that could get snowballed or run over?
So that's a great question. Part of the recruitment process is the requirement that the individuals have to have the other knowledge, skills, and abilities in order to qualify. So part of the recruitment process would be to look for that. And the term preferable would essentially mean that those who may have that experience or close experience would come in. If we had, for example, 10 qualified people, they may move forward over the others who didn't have that specific experience.
I just felt like that was a good question to ask, so it's out front.
It's a great question.
Okay. Any other questions?
I was just still reviewing it. I guess we're supplementing the need for experience supervising in an election environment with just straight managerial experience in general, right?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, I move to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second for approval of 8805. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Perez,
Yes.
Commissioner Atwood,
Yes.
Commissioner Rios,
Yes.
Commissioner Fry.
Yes.
We have a 4-0 vote to approve.
Moving on down to subsection B, 8808, voluntary demotion for Chris Davidson.
Yes. Good evening, Commissioner. Sabrina Mendez, Department of Human Resources. This is a request on behalf of Chris Davidson. He is requesting a voluntary demotion from Office Assistant 3 to Office Assistant 2 within the Department of Social Services. And this is for your review and consideration.
And I assume that this is the usual so that they can change, they can get on different pay scales. This isn't, I assume Chris is doing this so that he can move over to different pay scales, or it isn't to avoid discipline, correct?
So I don't have any knowledge of that. I didn't have the opportunity to speak with the individual, but this, I do know that this was a previously held position. So the Office Assistant 2 was a previously held position for this
By
person.
him? By Chris?
By the person, yes.
Okay. And it's not to avoid disciplinary action or anything?
So Commissioner Atwood, we don't have that information, and that's not something that we would
Sure.
share during a public meeting, of course, yes.
Okay.
Mr. Davidson's not here?
I apologize, it's Ms., it's Chris Davidson,
Oh, it's a she.
she, yes, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Does she
No,
have
she-
any, is there going to be a drop in salary?
Yes, with any voluntary demotion, there is always going to be
Okay, right.
less, yes, it could be $1, it could be more, but yes, it is a lower paid position.
Usually we're able to pull up those pages that show what the scales and stuff are, but we're not able to today.
We are
Which
not, so,
I'm
we-
not.
yeah, sorry to interrupt. So we are moving toward an electronic form, and so we haven't had that practice in some time. I don't believe we've been adding that form for the past few meetings.
Just haven't had to look.
Yeah.
It is nice to be able to compare and contrast the
Yeah.
responsibilities so that there's a little bit more transparency with, for Davidson as well, right? Understanding the new role and responsibilities and what's no longer required. So just ensuring when we see it or when we receive it, I think that gives us a little bit more confidence that the employee themselves have received it, So at this point, we're just kind of trusting that they're well aware of it. And I guess being voluntary, I guess we could assume that, but again, just want to make sure we're being responsible with the information.
So you're saying it would be helpful to add the job descriptions of both positions? Is that correct?
Correct, yeah, because it does provide a little bit more insight on, maybe why, the reasoning why they would want to demote.
Okay, I entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we accept it.
All right, I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the voluntary demotion. Item 8808, roll call.
Commissioner Rios?
Yes.
Commissioner Perez?
Yes.
Commissioner Atwood?
Yes.
Commissioner Fry?
Yes.
We have a 4-0 vote to approve.
Okay, we'll move on down to item subsection C, 8800, voluntary demotion for Melissa Sanchez.
Yes, good evening again. Yes, this is a request on behalf of Melissa Sanchez for a voluntary demotion from Program Assistant 1 to a Nutrition Assistant 1 with the Department of Public Health. This is for your review and consideration.
See, and this one tells a little bit of a story, right? It's a whole different department, so it's like, okay, well, I'm going to take on a new responsibility that might fall into a lower bracket or whatever it may have you, that constitutes a demotion, so
And actually, to clarify, it is within the same department.
it was, okay.
Same department, perhaps different
Program
work
assistant,
area.
nutrition assistant.
May I just add one minor detail to that? While having all the information is great, sometimes the individuals don't want to share that information, and so those requests come in from the employee. So dependent upon how they feel about the process, they may not wish to share that information. So just keep that in mind.
Is there a way to put a footnote in saying something similar to that in our information? That way we wouldn't ask this silly question if we didn't need to. I'm just trying to simplify
We
things.
can certainly ask them if they are willing to put it in, but at the same time, they're simply asking for the voluntary demotion as
Okay.
per their rules, so.
All right. Any other questions? Entertain a motion.
So moved?
second? Joe? Did you second?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the voluntary demotion for Melissa Sanchez. Roll call, please. Going in back to school board mode.
Commissioner Atwood?
Yes.
Commissioner Rios?
Yes.
Commissioner Perez?
Yes.
Commissioner Fry?
Yes.
We have 4-0 vote to approve.
Okay, moving down to subsection D, 8810, hearing, presentation, and acceptance of peace officer and related classification and compensation study.
Yes, good evening again, Commissioner. So as we have mentioned in previous meetings, Human Resources has been working on a peace officer and related classification and compensation study due to Assembly Bill 846. So what we are bringing before you are the final report of our study, the benchmark data report, which shows position benchmarks that were used, the proposed salary table, and a spreadsheet of proposed range placements for these positions. We're requesting consideration of your approval of the acceptance of this study, subject to bargaining unit negotiations. Just keep in mind, the acceptance of these recommendations are preliminary. Any material changes as a result of negotiations will be brought back to the next succeeding meeting. I did want to mention there were a few clerical errors that we discovered. And
Say it isn't so.
What was that?
Say it isn't so.
I know, it happens, I'm sorry. I take full responsibility. So I'm going to distribute the sheet, and then I'll also outline what the changes were. Thank you.
So is that kind of like what Facebook and Messenger does to things that we text and write? They change it for us, so it doesn't mean anything we said?
Sometimes you try to do things the easy way or, the technological way, and it's better to just go one by one.
Yeah, that'll get you in trouble. Yep.
So the first change, and this is pretty small. So the first change I did want to bring to your attention was they are mostly on the minimum and maximum amount columns. You'll see that in red. And this document will be available to the public if needed.
And these are the clerical errors you were talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so for Code Enforcement Officer 1, the minimum maximum was incorrect, so that was corrected to reflect the actual salary that pertains to that range. And also,
Oh,
yeah, the
Sabrina.
number of the range?
We're looking at all those in red, right?
Correct,
Okay,
Corrections.
so, yeah, these are different than what we may have seen earlier.
correct. These were not the same numbers that were on the document
So
itself.
anything, just for clarification, anything in red is what's been changed to what it's supposed to be.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
But we would have to look at the original to see the change or to compare it.
To compare, yes, and I can read that off as well, if you'd like. Was that? I have it. Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
So Code
go-
Enforcement
go to
Officer-
attachment B. Oh, we gotta
sorry,
go
what's
back to this again. Dave, is
tell me
David
what the
still
changes
here? Oh, he's gone. Can someone show Abel how to change his screen to split?
Well, I
Anybody
just have a little tiny window.
Yeah, you're, let's see, I think I know. Hit the square up at the top. That one? Nope, that didn't do it.
It's like in the, where I can mute and the speaker mode and
The screen is holding it back.
the,
Would it be helpful if we read the previous numbers and then tell you the corrected numbers out in public, or?
Well, we have them here, but yeah, the numbers are so small, they're gonna be hard to read on what's printed on the computer. But his screen is only showing him a little piece of it instead of the whole screen.
Okay.
It's from the startup.
I guess how do I get rid of all this?
I'm just wondering, to what point would we read all those numbers, since they've already been corrected? There's nothing, There's nothing,
The only thing, the reason I suggested it was so that it was on the record, in addition to the attachment that we would have, but so that it's, you are able to hear it, but it's also for the public record, if somebody's listening to into the meeting.
oh, okay.
Is
We
there-
we can't just attach it to the paper record.
Kevin, can you speak to that?
Yeah, it's not uncommon for the legislative body to receive preliminary documents that could be changed at the meeting, prior to the meeting, during the meeting, et cetera. And then the legislative body can adopt the revised amended documents. They then become public documents upon the review, consideration, and adoption. But there's no legal requirement that you read into the record every single change, as long as there's a clear record for the secretary of the board that this is what they're adopting, this is the public document, this is subject to public consumption following their meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Dale, I have a question on, excuse me, the list that we have here, you got all these individuals. Would they have, once we make a decision, would they have a right to appeal any decisions that we?
Yeah, the county code and the rules of the Civil Service Commission provide jurisdiction and authority for the commission to review and adopt this type of a classification plan and proposed recommended salary range placements. However, under the Myers-Millers-Brown Act, there is a legal obligation for the county to engage in negotiations with each of the respective bargaining groups. And to the extent there's any disputes over salary range placements, the appropriate venue, once adopted by the commission, ultimately would be through the negotiation process, and then finally through adoption of the salary schedules by the Board of Supervisors. So there really wouldn't be any further appeal back to the commission, but it would be subject to the negotiation process, which has its own statutory requirements.
So by us voting on this, and I think we discussed it before, this is a recommendation that will be given to the Board of Supervisors, right?
Yes.
And then they make the final decision.
But that's after the negotiations have taken place.
Yeah.
So
That's correct.
we give our official okey-dokey, they go to the bargaining units, the bargaining units hash out details, they go to the Board of Supervisors, or does it come back to us if there's major changes? It would
Correct.
come
If
back to
there's
us.
material changes, we would
Right.
bring it back to your.
But if it's just a minor change or a, clerical error, and then it ultimately goes to the supervisors.
I believe, Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we could accept this document as the most recent numbers that we have,
Correct.
recognizing that this could still change for some other reason, that it's not the final document.
Correct.
And that might help everybody with this for clarification.
Yes.
Is that fair enough?
And- Well, and I've been assured by staff that no one's salary goes down. No one's salary, no one's hurt.
With our proposal, we are not proposing anyone to have a decrease, no.
Correct.
Or yes, sorry.
Okay.
Well, thank you all for clarification on that.
So I'll make a motion that we accept it. Well, then we can discuss it.
I wanted to accept what? We have the motion to accept this?
Yeah, that we accept the recommendations, then we can discuss it.
I'll
Otherwise, we're
second it.
discussing something that's a non-motion.
I'll second it.
Now it's discussion time.
What are you moving into motion? I'm sorry.
That we accept the report to present this to the bargaining units as presented by staff.
For clarification, you're saying take these accepted changes.
Correct.
That were clerical mistakes
Correct,
into the document.
correct. We're only,
Do we need to do that, Kevin?
I think what would happen is there'd be a motion to accept the classification and compensation study presented by staff with the clarification that the typographical errors reflected in this sheet are included in the matter, the item.
I'm going to guess that by his head shake, that's his motion now.
yes.
Okay. Would that be your second, Joe?
Yes.
Okay,
Was just ensuring we weren't voting on D 8810
right.
at this time?
No,
Okay.
no. So we have a motion and Hold on, guys.
I've confused everybody.
No. I think this is an important point.
Did we get a second, or?
Yes, Joe.
Okay. And then-
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the corrections to the, what do you call it? What's the right term, please?
The presentation and acceptance of the peace officer and related classification and compensation study.
That's it. So we have a motion and a second to that. Roll call.
Commissioner Atwood.
Yes.
Excuse me. I do believe that with a hearing, don't we require to have public comment?
Yeah, I think there's two items occurring right now.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where, so the subject you just gave us is D 8810. That's not what we're voting on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was it the document acceptance? Okay.
We're accepting the revision.
And let me make a point that that's not necessary.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I think is necessary is at the proper time, once the hearing is concluded and the commission wants to move forward with this item, there can be a motion to approve 8810, which is a classification and compensation study, with the revisions that staff offered this evening in this document. I don't think, it's not legally required that the commission go through a preliminary step of accepting an amendment to the draft documents. I think you can do it all in one swoop at the end after your hearing process.
Right.
Okay,
That being said, I'll withdraw my motion.
okay.
So we'll continue.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
See, lawyers, you serve a useful purpose.
So at this point, we should ask if there's any comment from the guys in the back row. Not yet? Okay.
Yeah, I would comment that, we've gone through the numbers, we've heard, the county's stance on, why this is good and beneficial, and so I was actually looking forward to hearing from the county employees.
Just come up to the podium over here and.
Oh, yeah.
I knew that was coming. Come to the lectern and make sure that little green, yeah, that thing right there. If you want to raise it up or down, you can.
There we go.
There's a button on your right that will raise the whole thing up and down. But make sure your little green light is on, please,
Yes, sir.
and state your name and position with the county.
My name is Donald Babineau. I'm a Deputy Sheriff 2 with the Sheriff's Office. I appreciate the commission's allowing me to come up here and speak with you guys. This salary survey is desperately needed for our county. Me personally, I came from a larger county, and I came to Madera County because it allowed me to be more of a cop. And what I mean by being a cop is it allowed me to be more proactive for my community. It allowed me to go out and stop people. It allowed me to not just respond to calls for service. One of the things that I think that staff has worked so hard on, and the commission, board of supervisors, and the county in general, is me personally, I understand we're not going to make Fresno County money. I understand we're not going to make the city of Clovis money. However, our younger deputies, the deputy sheriff ones, they're not thinking like me. I've got 13 years in law enforcement. I'm on the downside. So anything that we can do to help retain the deputies that we have is something that I think and I hope would be approved. Our deputies, like I said, we understand we're not going to make the big bucks, but most of us that come here don't come here for the money. We come here because we seriously enjoy what we do. Most of us are community members that live in Madera County, whether it be in eastern Madera County or down here on the valley floor, and we take great pride in working for this agency. So again, I appreciate everything that you guys are doing, the staff with Miss May. I know we've talked to her several times. I've talked to a couple of these ladies several times as well, and we appreciate everything that you guys are taking into consideration. And if you guys have any questions, I'll answer what I can.
We almost missed out on that fantastic speech.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, very much.
We appreciate what you and your department do. You guys do an awesome job.
Well.
Awesome job, all of you.
Thank you very much.
Right. And, for the remainder of the public and yourself, I'd like to just remind that the Civil Service Commission serves the employees of the county, and we're representation of that. And so we want to ensure that there is no, the way these things are being communicated to each of you is transparent, it's understood, and if the perception out there was that, hey, we're getting our salaries slashed, no opportunity for advancement, no opportunity for increase in pay, this scale is just completely off. If that's the perception of it, that's what I kind of wanted to uncover, because, looking through it, I also think that there's a lot of benefit to it, but just making sure that is being communicated effectively, and that there's not this misperception amongst our staffing. Because I agree, I think we need to retain as many hardworking employees as we possibly can. And I think relative to, the base salary in our county, these are, really good positions with good salaries, and, you're definitely contributors to our economics here in the community of Madera. So thank you.
Yes, sir. And to answer back on that, I am a member of our Deputy Sheriff's Association. I am the treasurer. I have talked to several of our deputies. Not everybody is going to be pleased. We understand that, but we also understand that this is a step in the right direction, and that's what we're hoping to do.
Great, thank you.
Well, we out in the country appreciate all you guys,
Yes, sir.
and I know you guys appreciate people like me too, so.
We do,
We all try
sir.
to
Well,
work together.
wait a second.
No.
Don't put words in their mouth.
Right. Thank you,
I
guys.
try to make their job easier when they get to me.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now you've got me all teared up, I'm not sure where I'm at.
I would just like to clarify one thing, sorry, Susan Carter from Human Resources. The study that we're conducting, the impetus for all of this was the legislation that was passed, AB 846. That legislation, though, was to review our job descriptions and update them accordingly based on the legislation. We did decide that since we were updating the job descriptions, to add in the compensation piece, the study. So I just wanted to clarify that they are two different aspects. AB 846 did not require us to do an actual compensation study. I just wanted to clarify that.
I appreciate you doing that, because every time I keep hearing A46, I'm thinking, yeah, that has nothing to do with the income side of it, but thank you.
So are we at the point now where we want to approve this whole document?
I think so. I think staff has done a fabulous job looking at the numbers, the fairness, the amount of work that they've put into it. I'd also like to commend staff. I know their goal was January of 2022, and they did not allow a arbitrary deadline to rush the job, so they put a good quality, fair packet together that I think will make it easier for our wonderful sheriffs and other departments to recruit and retain the top quality employees that we've become accustomed to. So with that in mind, I'll make a motion that we accept, what's the number, 8810?
Yep.
As presented by staff, with the amended, with the amended sheet of paper, printed in red.
Yep. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Before we call for the roll call, I do want to thank the officers for being here. We know that there are going to be some people that are not happy. There are always going to be people like that, and it's incumbent on the guys, the officers who are satisfied, maybe not happy, but satisfied with the progress that's being made, to kind of keep bringing those guys along, and keep them here. Like you say, I've always said that myself. The more we can keep good people in this county, the better this county is going to be. And it's always a struggle. We're not the richest county. We're a smaller county. It's just always going to be a fight. And people are always going to chase the bucks. they want to go up to Alameda and work up there for the sheriff's department for $100,000 a year, go ahead, be my guest. Enjoy the ride.
Well, if they're happy with it, show them our picture. If they're unhappy with it, show them his picture.
Yeah. So with that said, we'll.
I have,
Okay.
Bill, did you say about, that included the changes in the red?
He did.
Okay,
Correct, Joe.
all right.
We have-
And I just want to comment really quick. I know, like, for myself, I'm, a numbers guy by trade, so it's easy to gravitate toward those numbers. But for me, I guess what we're really supposed to be looking at and eager and excited about is, for one, being compliant, right, with the bills, and two, the reclassifications and new updated job descriptions that are going to allow us to, continue to recruit in a more effective manner. And then, of course, trust that, during those negotiations with the bargaining units, these numbers are going to get dialed in, and then, of course, trust that our supervisor board is going to make the best fiscal responsible decision in the best interest of the county. So, yeah.
Big thing right now is retention. Aside from hiring, it's just retention. So with that being said, we do have a motion and a second for approval, so roll call?
Commissioner Atwood,
Yes.
Commissioner Rios,
Yes.
Commissioner Perez,
Yes.
Commissioner Fry.
Yes.
We have 4-0 vote to approve.
Okay, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
We'll move on down to staff reports. Nothing new and exciting? We spent all our energy on this, and now we got nothing left?
There are no staff reports at this time.
Now,
I
maybe
could come
an
up with something.
Maybe an update for everybody here of our fifth seat that's not filled yet.
Yes. So Commissioner Fry, thank you for asking the question. Excuse me. So the vacant position is Supervisor Frazier's vacancy, and he is planning to appoint, well, it'll be recommended to the Board of Supervisors, but it won't likely be until a couple months down the road. I think it has to do maybe with availability.
And
Of the
that's a
individual.
short-term seat
I know.
because his replacement will have to do the same thing. So hopefully they'll just concur and do the same thing,
Hopefully.
not have a bunch of turnover. All right, nothing else on staff reports then? All right. Go back. My mind is wandering. Get up there. No, I already did the consent calendar. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we are adjourned.
I thought nobody wanted to leave.
I was beginning to wonder the same. You want me to take this?
You folks did such an awesome